There are 3 phrases that a covert narcissist is psychologically incapable of saying. Not unwilling, not reluctant, incapable, and the reason they can't say them will tell you more about how their mind works than almost anything else you could observe. Because language isn't just communication, it's a window directly into someone's psychology. And what a covert narcissist refuses to say is the clearest X-ray of who they actually are. We've already covered the traits that make covert narcissists look like good people, the false humility, the fake empathy, the listening that's actually surveillance. And we've covered the mechanics of gaslighting, how they systematically dismantle your grip on reality until you're turning to them to tell you what's true. But today we're doing something different. Instead of looking at what they do, we're looking at what they can't say. Because here is what most people don't realize: covert narcissists are extraordinarily skilled with language. They know exactly what to say to disarm you, to hook you, to make you feel seen. They have a sophisticated verbal toolkit, but that same psychology that makes them brilliant manipulators also create specific, predictable gaps, phrases they are structurally unable to produce. Not because they haven't heard the words, because saying them would require a level of genuine psychological honesty that directly contradicts what narcissism is. Think of it like this: a person with a broken arm can do many things, but they cannot throw a ball. Not because they want, because the mechanism required is the one that's broken. This is exactly what's happening when a covert narcissist can't say these 3 phrases. The mechanism required is the one that narcissism destroyed. By the end of this video, you'll have a real-time test you can apply to any relationship in your life. Let's get into it. Not "I'm sorry you feel that way." Not "I'm sorry if I hurt you." Not "I never meant for this to happen." Not any of the sophisticated near apologies that sound like accountability, but contain none. The specific phrase is "I was wrong." Full stop. Present tense. Personal ownership. No qualifier. No condition. No pivot to your behavior. No explanation of why the circumstances made it understandable. Just "I was wrong." To say "I was wrong" requires accepting that your perception, your judgment, your version of events was inaccurate. For most people, this is uncomfortable, but manageable, because our self-worth isn't entirely contingent on being right. We can be wrong and still be okay. We can make mistakes and still be fundamentally good people. A covert narcissist cannot do this. Their entire psychological architecture is built on a grandiose self-image that must be protected at all costs, even when it's hidden beneath layers of false humility. The grandiosity of an overt narcissist is visible and loud. The grandiosity of a covert narcissist is internal, fragile, and desperately defended. Admitting they were wrong isn't just uncomfortable, it's existentially threatening. It cracks the foundation everything is built on. This is why, when confronted with clear evidence that they were wrong about something, even something minor, even something completely inconsequential, a covert narcissist will cycle through a very predictable set of defensive responses rather than saying those 3 words. Minimization, "It wasn't that big a deal," reduces the significance of the error so that being wrong about it doesn't count. Reframing, "You're taking this completely out of context," reconstructs the situation so that what looked like being wrong is actually a misunderstanding on your part. Counterattack, "Well, what about when you did?" immediately pivots to your behavior so the spotlight moves off them before accountability can land. The conditional apology, "I'm sorry if you were hurt by that." Word if does extraordinary work here. It introduces the possibility that you weren't actually hurt, that your pain is uncertain, that the apology is contingent on your subjective experience being valid. It sounds like accountability. It contains none. The explanation apology, "I'm sorry, but the reason I did that was..." Everything after the "but" erases the apology. The explanation becomes the real content, and the apology becomes the preamble to a defense. Here is how to use this in any relationship, current, past, or future. The next time something goes wrong, that is clearly the other person's doing, a broken promise, a hurtful comment, a verifiable factual error on their part, pay attention not to whether they apologize. Pay attention to how. A genuine apology contains 4 elements. Acknowledgement of the specific wrong, "I said something hurtful." Personal ownership, "That was wrong of me." No qualifier or condition, No if, no but, no pivot. No immediate request for forgiveness or reassurance. They sit with it. If any of those four elements is missing, particularly the second, you are not receiving a genuine apology. You are receiving a performance, designed to close the incident without genuine accountability. A healthy person can say I was wrong and mean it. Watch for who in your life cannot. The phrase, specifically, I don't know, said honestly, without immediately filling the gap with a theory, a redirection, or a claim to superior understanding. I don't know what you're going through. I don't know why I reacted that way. I don't know the answer to that. Simple, humble, honest about the limits of their knowledge or understanding. Why they can't say it. This one is subtler than the first, and it's the one that trips people up. Most because it doesn't look like narcissism on the surface. It just looks like someone who has a lot of opinions. Someone who always seems to have an answer. Someone who is, on the surface, impressively knowledgeable and self-assured. But erase what's actually happening, part of the covert narcissists. Internal self-image is a quiet conviction of intellectual and emotional superiority. They are the one who understands things more deeply. They are the one who sees what others miss. They are, in their own private narrative, the most emotionally intelligent person in the room, even when they perform vulnerability and self-deprecation on the surface. I don't know punctures that. It admits a limit. It admits that someone else might know something they don't. It requires genuine intellectual humility, not performed humility, which they can do easily, but actual acceptance of their own limitation. That admission is incompatible with the internal grandiosity they're protecting. So instead of saying I don't know, they do one of these. False certainty about your experience. I know exactly how you feel. Said with complete confidence. Never a question. Never uncertainty. They have already determined your emotional state for you, which removes the need for them to actually ask, listen, or sit with not knowing. Pivoting to theory, when confronted with a question they don't have an answer to about their own behavior, about a situation, about your feelings, they immediately pivot to an intellectual framework. Suddenly, it becomes a philosophical discussion, or a psychological theory, or something they read. The pivot fills the silence that honest uncertainty would require, claiming emotional knowledge as authority. I've always understood people better than most. This kind of statement, which covert narcissists make in various forms, preemptively positions them as the authority on human emotion. It means they never have to admit confusion about your feelings because they've already established that understanding feelings is their domain. Think about the conversations you've had where you've tried to explain how something made you feel, and instead of the other person saying, "Help me understand that better," or "I'm not sure I get it yet, tell me more," they immediately told you what you felt, why you felt it, and how you should process it. That isn't empathy. That's authority disguised as empathy. And the inability to say I don't know, to sit in genuine uncertainty about your experience and let you define it for yourself, is one of the clearest markers that the empathy you're being shown is performed, not real. Real empathy requires not knowing first. It requires asking. It requires being uncertain. A covert narcissist skips that step entirely, because that step would require admitting they don't already have the answer. And they always have the answer. The phrase, "How can I help you?" asked genuinely with no agenda, no score being kept, no expectation of reciprocation. Just, what do you need, and how? Can I provide it? Or similarly, what do you need right now? Not erase what I think you need. Not I know what would help you. But a genuine open question that puts your needs at the center and their role as secondary. Why they can't say it. This is the deepest one, and it cuts to the very core of what covert narcissism is. Because this phrase requires something that is the direct opposite of the narcissistic operating system. It requires genuine other-centeredness. It requires, even momentarily, making someone else's needs the primary concern, without calculating what you'll get back, without positioning yourself as the hero of the support, without keeping a ledger. A covert narcissist is fundamentally transactional. Every act of support, every expression of care, every moment of generosity is, on some level, even if they're not consciously aware of it, an investment. It goes in the ledger. It builds the account. It creates obligation. This isn't always cynical and calculated. Sometimes it's a deeply ingrained pattern. they developed as a survival mechanism and they don't fully recognize. They're doing it, but the result is the same. Support is never freely given. And how can I help you? Genuinely asked, genuinely open, cannot be said by someone who is already calculating the return on the support before they've even offered it. Instead, what you get is one of these. The prescriptive offer. What you need to do is, they've already decided what help looks like. They're not asking what you need. They're telling you what they've determined you should have. This positions them as the expert on your situation and removes your agency simultaneously. The martyrdom offer, they'll do anything for you, you know that. This sounds like unconditional support. It's actually a preemptive investment in your debt. Anything is not a blank check, it's a statement that goes in the ledger as the largest possible entry, unlimited sacrifice, which means unlimited obligation on your part. Help as performance. They offer help in ways that are visible, documentable, and impressive to witnesses or to you in the moment, but show limited availability for the quiet, unglamorous, ongoing support that real care requires. They'll make a grand gesture. They won't show up consistently and without recognition. The comparison. I do so much for you. I've always helped you with everything. This appears when you need something they're not willing to provide. Rather than honestly saying I can't help with this, they reference all the previous entries in the ledger. Your need becomes a referendum on your gratitude for past help, rather than a simple request. In the present, the test for any relationship. Go back through recent conversations where you needed support. Count how many times the person supporting you asked an open question. What do you need? How can I help? Versus how many times they told you what you needed, what you should do, or immediately launched into advice or action without asking. Then count how many times their help came without any subsequent reference to it. No, after everything I did, no, I was there for you, and no reminder. It just happened and was never mentioned again. People who genuinely give freely don't keep the receipts. Covert narcissists. Never throw them away. So here are the 3 phrases again, and I want you to hold them as a framework, not as a weapon. I was wrong. Genuine accountability, no qualifier. I don't know. Honest limitation, real humility. How can I help you? Authentic support, no ledger. These aren't a test you administer to someone to catch them out. They're a standard to hold in your mind as you move through relationships. Because healthy people, imperfect, normal, sometimes difficult people can say all 3. They might say them awkwardly. They might need reminding. Sometimes. But they can get there. The covert narcissist cannot. Not because they haven't heard the words. Because the psychological mechanism required to mean them doesn't function the way it does in most people. And once you understand that, understand that this isn't about you, it was never about you, you were never the reason they couldn't say these things, something starts to shift. Because you stop waiting for the apology that isn't coming. You stop explaining your feelings to someone who has already decided what they are. You stop hoping that one day they'll ask what you need and actually mean it. And you start asking yourself, what do I need? And who in my life is actually capable of asking me that? That's the work. And it starts with knowing the difference. If this video helped you see something more clearly, subscribe. Next video, we're going into the green flags that are actually the earliest red flags. Of all, the things that happen in the first weeks of knowing someone that feel amazing, but are actually the beginning of the trap. Drop a comment below. Which of these 3 phrases have you been waiting to hear from someone? You don't have to say who. Just the phrase. I read every single one.